Hello, everybody. I'm Attorney General Josh Kaul. I'm joined by Mount Horeb School District Superintendent Dr. Steve Salerno and several law enforcement partners, both from federal agencies as well as Mount Horeb Police Chief Doug Vierick and a representative from our Office of School Safety. The Division of Criminal Investigation at the Wisconsin Department of Justice is now leading an investigation into the entirety of the incident that took place earlier today in Mount Horeb. We will be releasing information as quickly as we're able to in a way that doesn't interfere with the ongoing investigation. So here's what we're able to provide at this point in time. Since late this morning, the Mount Horeb School District has been locked down due to a safety threat. Police officers from the Mount Horeb Police Department responded to a report of an individual with a weapon outside the middle school. Police officers responded to that threat and they used deadly force. This incident took place outdoors. The subject in this case never gained entry to the school building during the incident, and the subject was a student in the Mount Horeb School District. While the investigation into the details of this incident is ongoing, other than the subject, no other people were physically injured during this incident. Again, the investigation is ongoing and there will be more details to come as we move forward. Law enforcement is and continues to vigorously investigate this incident. For a period of time today, there was concern that there was an ongoing threat related to this incident. We currently believe that there is no ongoing threat to public safety. But again, this is an ongoing investigation, and we will update the public if any additional threat to safety is discovered. Reunification between students and parents is ongoing. The safety of students and school staff is our #1 priority. And we want to thank the parents and community members in Mount Horeb for their patience as this process took place to ensure the safety of students and school staff. In addition to the Division of Criminal Investigation, DOJ's Office of School Safety is responding to provide additional support to the Mount Horeb School District, and I'll say a few more words about that in a moment, but now I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Steve Salerno for additional information.
Good evening, and thank you for being assembled here tonight. My name is Steve Salerno. I'm the superintendent here in Mount Horeb. If there's a story to be told here today, it's a story of an amazing staff that have rallied in support of our beautiful children and a community that envelops and holds their children and their schools in high esteem, as they should. We, of course, lift our prayers to all who've been impacted by today's events, and we think it's best that tomorrow we take a beat, we take a rest, and we open up our schools to students and staff for support. And we're thankful for the Office of School Safety, who continues to do wonders around the entire state. And they will be lending their hand and support along with many others who've reached out to help us here today. It is our hope, based upon the tone and tenor of those visits with our students and staff, that we can bring students and staff back to school on Friday. We'll have a decision on that at some point here in the near future. But at this point, we are ready to roll up our sleeves and work shoulder to shoulder with our amazing law enforcement and first responders who came to help support and protect our young people and their loving and dedicated staff. We are beyond grateful for your leadership today. And we hope at some point to begin the process of engaging our parents and community about questions that they may have germane to school safety. I will say this, that had it not been for our community stepping up to the plate to help support capital and operational referendums that allowed us to install safety measures, including vestibules, locked front doors and the like, this could have been a far worse tragedy. And we're beyond grateful for the community support of our beautiful children and their loving staff. Thank you.
So as I mentioned before, this is an ongoing investigation, and that's part of the role that DOJ will be playing through our Division of Criminal Investigation. I want to thank all of the law enforcement officers and the other first responders who responded to the call today in response to danger. There are representatives from a number of agencies who have worked to secure the scene and to restore safety to the schools in the district. As the superintendent mentioned, the Office of School Safety at DOJ will also be working in collaboration with the school district going forward to help ensure that our kids are returning to an environment where they feel safe. As I mentioned before, we are grateful that this is an incident where nobody other than the subject sustained a physical injury. But this type of incident is any parent's nightmare. This is a traumatic incident for parents, for students, and for anybody who has a family member impacted by something like this. To minimize the trauma that kids suffer from this, it's important that we all work collaboratively to restore a sense of safety, particularly for the kids who were impacted, so that there's as little trauma as possible. We encourage parents and caregivers to provide reassurance that this event is now over and that children are in a safe place. It's helpful for parents, family, and teachers to help their children verbalize their feelings so they don't feel alone with their emotions. Parents and caregivers can provide encouragement to express fears, sadness, and anger in the supportive environment of the family, answering their questions without sharing upsetting details. We recommend that media exposure to these upsetting events is limited, particularly for young children, and we encourage you to contact your local school staff if you have any specific concerns about your child. School violence prevention is a shared responsibility, and if you have concerns that somebody may be planning an act of school violence, we urge you to report the concern to Speak Up, Speak Out Wisconsin or law enforcement. You can contact us at 1-800-MYSUSO, MYSUSO 1, or contact us through our website at speakup.widoj.gov. So with that, we're happy to answer questions to the extent we can.
Kaul, is the shooter dead? You said was a student at Mount Horeb.
The deadly force was used in this incident, and the subject is deceased.
What kind of gun did the shooter have?
The investigation is ongoing into the details. As I mentioned, this was a response to a call for a weapon, but we will provide additional information as the investigation moves forward. We don't want to provide more than we can at this point in a way that could compromise the integrity of the investigation.
What he described as an active shooter doesn't imply that he fired shots, or were there shots fired by the subject in this case?
As I mentioned, the investigation into a lot of the details is ongoing, and while we have begun the process of gathering information, we want to make sure that what we're providing to the public has been reviewed and that we're confident in it as we provide it. So we'll have additional information to provide on those details as we move forward.
Were there students outside when the subject approached, and then were there this exchange of gunfire possibly with students witnessing it?
I can't speak to that detail at this point in time.
Did the student indicate that they were going to bring a gun to school today?
Again, this is an ongoing investigation, and law enforcement is gathering as much information about this incident as we can, and so as we get more information that we can provide reliably to the public, we will, but nothing further on that at this point.
What can you tell us about this student, the age of the student? Is it a middle school student, high school student? And then has this student had any previous interaction with law enforcement?
We're not identifying this student at this point in time. What I can say is that it was a student, it was a minor, but as we continue to move forward with this process, we'll provide information as appropriate. I will also mention we'll be working in conjunction with the DA's office as information is gathered, and the details that we're able to release will be based on conversations we have with that office.
As for previous interactions with law enforcement?
No further information I can provide at this time.
Why was there concern of an ongoing threat?
Again, I can't get into the details. What I can say is that this was an incident, of course, that law enforcement responded to very promptly, and force was used. But once that incident happened, law enforcement continued to investigate and to ensure that everything was being done to ensure the safety of the students in the school. Without knowing all those details, ensuring that further information was gathered that got law enforcement to a point where they were comfortable providing the information we are now is something that's ongoing in the midst of an active investigation that was ongoing. And so as they were looking into that information, the information they were receiving throughout the day, they were following up on leads and information and continue to do so.
Josh,
I'm
you've done a
looking for
lot of
anyone
school
else.
safety about people reporting things when they see it, and talking to students, parents. Was this a case where that worked? Can you talk about how this came to the attention of law enforcement?
I don't have information on what's been reported yet at this point in time. As the superintendent mentioned, the physical security of the school appears to have played a role. But as we gather information about what led to this, we'll be continuing to update
Did the
folks.
student raise his or her weapon towards the officers, which led to the deadly force being used?
Those details regarding the incident involving the student are ones that are the subject of the ongoing investigation, and we'll continue to provide updates as we can as more information is gathered.
Why is it taking so long for the middle school students to be reunified with family members?
Yeah, so the reunification has been happening, it's ongoing right now. As I mentioned, there was concern that there may continue being an active threat following the use of force incident, and the investigators on the scene, their number one priority is ensuring that kids and school staff are safe. And so once they were at a point where they believed that they could safely reunify kids with their parents, that they began to do so. Obviously, some of the facilities were were at the center of this incident, not all the facilities, and so.
Does that mean interviews? Are you going to interview a lot of students that may have been witnesses?
One of the things we want to make sure is happening is that the trauma to kids and the impact from this event is as limited in time as possible. So one of the things that law enforcement has been doing is interviewing kids as they've been reunified with their parents. We don't want that to happen over the course of weeks or months or even days, and so by interviewing students and getting them back with their parents, we can begin the process of healing for those kids. And so getting to that point as quickly as possible, while also ensuring that we're getting any information that might be relevant to safety is what law enforcement's been doing.
How many officers were involved in the use of deadly force, and is anyone on leave tonight?
There are officers on leave. We will be providing the information we can in our press release about I don't know if we have the number or not to provide you yet, but there are some officers on leave. That's standard practice in a use of force incident like this. And again, we'll provide more information there as things move forward.
Those Mount Horeb officers fired those shots?
It was Mount Horeb police officers.
Are they equipped with body cameras?
They are, yes.
Superintendent Salerno and AG Kaul, what went right today?
I think all of the training that we've provided to our students and staff played a pivotal role in protecting everybody's interests. We've unfortunately had to go through the process of actually escorting students out of the building so they could go to their safe location. That was put into practice today, and that worked well. Students who saw something happening when the individual approached the schoolhouse from the outside, never penetrating the interior, that worked well today. Those students were able to communicate immediately as to what they had seen, and staff were able to take action, decisive action, quickly. And we knew enough not to, of course, just let anyone into our school system. Our secretaries, our administrative assistants are just worth their weight in gold. We have a system in place that before anyone can come into our schools, they must ring through a doorbell and state the nature of their business. I'm most proudest of our faculty and staff. As you can imagine, they had a number of concerns, not the least of which their own children who would be in those buildings themselves. Yet we know them to be just loving, professional individuals, and they rose to the occasion and then some. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say how grateful we are to our parents today. Our parents understood that there were systems and procedures that we had in place for this, but we couldn't necessarily get in contact with them throughout the day. We used a system of communication through our district's Facebook page and through our school communication link called Infinite Campus, and we intend to continue to use those mediums moving forward. And our parents have responded to everything we've asked of them, and of course our loving community. I think my text messages are full with hundreds of messages from people saying, what can we do to help support, get food to children, to help support staff, counselors, and the like. This is really everybody rolling up their sleeves and working shoulder to shoulder to take care of our beautiful children.
Do you have a pronoun on the student? What pronoun he, she, they use?
Yeah, it's a male.
Superintendent, I assume that you train for days like this. It's got to be, as a leader of this community, one of your worst nightmares coming true today.
Amen.
What is that like for you? You train to actually see this today. What is that like for you?
It's an out-of-body experience, quite frankly. It's an experience that you just pray to God every day that you don't ever have to enter into. Today, we were called upon, our staff, these amazing professionals around the table were called upon to act, and they did so, with great professionalism, and I just have a tremendous amount of respect for all of the adults, all of our students who helped get us to a successful resolution to this matter as quickly as possible.
Sorry. You haven't mentioned whether any officers were injured, were they in danger?
There were no officers injured in this incident. We are investigating the details again that led up to this. But this is a situation where there was a report about somebody with a weapon at a school, and law enforcement responded to that situation. And so without going into specifics, that's an inherently dangerous situation. And just to go back to the earlier question about what went well, law enforcement responded immediately from the Mount Horeb Police Department, but from a number of other agencies, as well as other first responders, and there was a comprehensive, full response that allowed folks to follow up on information being received. And as the superintendent mentioned, some of the things that we talk about regularly as to school safety principles are front and center in what led to this incident being one where nobody other than the subject was injured. Having thoughtful physical security measures in place, having a culture where kids seek help and hear reporting of their teachers, and then preparedness, being prepared to respond. All of those things are really important. The next big step, and what I'm really hopeful and confident will go well in the future, but is also very important, is for members of the community to continue coming together, to talk to their kids about this incident, and to work to minimize the trauma. This is an event that shatters the safety that people feel sending their kids to school. And the more that parents and teachers and all community members are able to come together to work to restore that sense of safety for their kids, the sooner it will return.
Is there a school resource officer at the middle school, and if so, were they involved in this?
Yes, there is a school resource officer, and he was involved.
Could you clarify where this happened? I know you said outside, but parking lot, near the door, could you just give some clarity on where that occurred?
It was outside.
Yeah, what I can say at this point is it was outside of the school, and the subject was not able to enter the school building. As we're doing the investigation, we'll have more specific details as to exactly where it was. But at this point, what I can say is that he was outside and didn't enter the school.
How many officers discharge their weapons? How many officers discharge their weapons?
I don't have the exact information right now, but that's one of the things that investigators are gathering information on so that we can determine exactly how events unfolded.
Did the subject make an effort to get into the building?
Again, we're looking into the details of exactly what unfolded in the incident involving the subject, and so I don't have an update for you on that at this point.
Were you ever looking for multiple shooters, multiple people? Are you still looking for anybody right now that you think may be involved or in that other, threat that you were talking about?
Yeah, what I can say at this point is that there was concern that there may potentially be an ongoing threat after the incident involving the subject. Law enforcement has gathered information and continues to gather information, and to the extent that there is any information that indicates there could be a threat, we're going to ensure it's followed up on. That happened during the day today. I can't go into the details at this point on exactly what was involved, but what I can say is that based on the follow-up investigation that has been conducted, we don't believe at this point that there is an ongoing threat to public safety, though again I want to emphasize it is an ongoing investigation, and to the extent we have additional information we can provide that will be relevant to public safety, we will provide that. I know you've been trying to ask a question. So.
Last question.
What contact sort of communication has there been with the student, the subject's family?
So we, in addition to the investigation, one of the things that we have as part of our response at DOJ are crime response professionals. They work with people who are impacted by crimes, and they have responded in this incident as they do in a number of incidents. But, you know, as I said, this is an ongoing investigation, and we'll continue gathering information as we move forward.
Sorry, we've got to cut it off there. We're actually getting kicked out of the room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.